Girl, I see you've come a long, long way. You're not alone anymore. Come sit with me and tell me your story. You've come a long way, girl. Pulled yourself out and climbed the mess. Those were some dark times back then, but it's all over now. You're not alone anymore. Come sit with me and tell me your story. This is Truckin' with Tamie, where your journey's heard and your voice is free. You're not alone, come share your story with me.
Good afternoon and welcome to Truckin' with Tamie. I'm your host, Tamie. Today I have the pleasure of Jennifer Laurin, as everybody calls her, Trucker Jen. Trucker Jen, welcome to the Truckin' with Tamie podcast.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So great for you to come on. So, for those of you who don't know Trucker Jen has been in the trucking industry since 2004. She's currently the owner of 4 semi-trucks in the Florida area. And today we're going to hear Jen's story, how she got started in trucking, her ups and downs, and how she got to where she is now. So, Jen, introduce yourself and let's hear your crazy life story.
Well, I can't give you all the details in this short period of time, but yeah, it's definitely been a crazy ride, or a crazy drive, maybe I should say.
Right? Crazy drive. So, way back before you decided to get into trucking, you were married, correct?
Yes. Briefly.
Briefly. So, what was the day that you were like, I want to get into trucking? How did trucking even get into your picture?
Well, when I was a little girl, I had 2 uncles that were in trucking, and one of my uncles, he's one of the ultimate old school crazy truckers, like 40 years trucking, and just the what would you call it? I don't know how to explain him. He's just
Old school?
yeah,
Old school drivers, outlaw truckers.
Yeah, so he used to come and visit us when I was a little kid, and I remember seeing his trucks and things and thinking that was kind of cool. But then when I became a teenager, I started riding buses and stuff, and the city bus drivers would tell me, oh yeah, CDL, and it was a good job. And I just thought, I don't want to do any paperwork jobs. I didn't want to be in an office.
So, crazy uncle introduced you to trucking. So what was the moment where you said, now it's my turn. Now this is what I'm going to do?
Well, after my divorce, I had just bought a house. I was actually working for AOL at the time when they were big still. And I decided I don't want to do customer service anymore. It sucks. I don't like it. I was really, really good at sales. I just didn't like it. Then I tried a couple little things. Worked at the mall, did a car dealership, and I said, this is not working for me. So I finally was able, I started looking into trucking schools, and I didn't have money for that, and I couldn't get a scholarship. So then I found a trucking company that would hire me and train me. So I decided, all right, I hopped on the bus, and about 2 or 3 months later, or not, like, I don't know, actually a couple of weeks later, I was licensed from my training, and then my within 6 months I was an owner operator and doing my own thing.
So where you went to a school then? Where did you go to school?
Well, I went to the trucking school through Prime Inc., the trucking company in Springfield, Missouri. Yeah.
So back in 2004, as a female student, what was the experience like?
It was pretty good. I mean, I've always been professional and open-minded and all those things. I can get along with anybody. And yes, they did put me in trucks with men. So my first trainer was an older black man from Colorado. So I was with him, I think, about at least 3 weeks or so. So he teach me how to back up and how to, do everything. And I came back and I tested out, and then I ended up with a female trainer for a little while after that, but that didn't work out because of a couple of crazy situations. So I ended up with another male trainer to finish off my regular driving training. And then after that, I teamed up with a boyfriend temporarily, and then we split, and then I ended up, leasing my own truck, and that's the beginning.
So we were just getting ready to talk about you. How long were you a solo driver before you decided to become a lease purchase?
Actually, I jumped from teaming with a boyfriend to finish out training into becoming a solo driver, leasing immediately after that, because I decided I didn't want to just be a company driver. So I immediately signed a lease for a truck. And then I think I was only actually even licensed for about 6 months until they let me become a trainer myself. So I started bringing on people that were fully licensed already that needed to have their training. So, and then within only a few months after that, I told them, look, I want to be an instructor. And I was bringing on permitted people and training them how to drive. And I had a couple of female trainees and things like that. So, yeah, it all kind of moved really fast for me because that's kind of how I am. I learn quick and I don't like to just sit in the same situation for very long. I like to go to the next, you know?
Right. So how was training with such limited experience for you? I mean, did you feel confident in your skills that you could teach that to new drivers
Yeah,
with such
absolutely.
limited?
I'm the kind of person where once I learn something, no matter how difficult it was to begin with, once I figure it out, I'm a master and I can teach anybody at that point because yeah, I'm really good at learning things.
Are you? And so, what kind of trainer were you?
I was, I try to be easygoing. I try to be, you know, what do you call it? Like, to get along with people. I try to be accommodating and those types of things. And, my, so I apologize. 1 second.
Oh no,
My,
interruption seems to be the thing this morning.
yeah, I know.
Go ahead. So she currently has a driver who got stuck in the mud this morning. So she's kind of dealing with that while she's on the live. So we appreciate her still being able to be here, and we'll allow her to take care of her business briefly
Just 1 second. That's
while
all
we're
I'm going
going
to
through.
There,
No,
you had to
I
send a
get
text from the other phone. Sorry.
it. No problem. No problem.
Tell them, stop
So,
bothering me on this line.
so what would your students, if your students were here today, what would they say about you as a trainer?
Well, when I was at the school specifically, it was mostly guys. I had a couple of ladies too, but the guys absolutely loved me. They requested me. They always said that they enjoyed, my instruction. They most of the time, they didn't give me a hard time. They all listened and they paid attention because they knew I knew what I was doing. Because when I was showing them, I was very particular in how I taught them how to, do their backing and different maneuvers and things. And when I would show them, like, especially where I'm teaching somebody how to do a dock for the first time, and I'd be like, okay, watch this. And I could do it with one hand and just whoop right in. And they're like, wow, you make it look so easy. I'm like, well, at the time it was probably like 15 years of driving will do that to you. But here's how you can learn how to do it and do it as good as me, a little slower. But I would show them point by point. And I wouldn't really criticize them. I would just, try to reinforce the good. Like, all right, good job. Next time we're going to try it this way, though, or whatever. I always have to try to put a positive spin on things because when you put too much negative into things, it just discourages people. So positive reinforcement was a lot of what I did. But yeah, I had pretty good success. And there was a lot of people there that shouldn't have had a regular car license. I don't know why they were trying to get their CDL.
Yeah, I ran into that as well. So I get it. So you went Prime, you went through their full range of things that were available to you as a driver, solo, teaming, lease purchase, you
Reefer.
train, reefer. So you ended up deciding to leave Prime. And then you went and checked out what was away. You switched a few companies and you went to drive away trucking. You did some car hauling. You did some milk tanker. I mean, you really expanded your horizons.
Yep.
What was your favorite thing?
Well, my favorite thing is being a stay-at-home mom now. Definitely.
Right. We would all like that. But in trucking, what was your favorite thing?
My favorite thing about trucking in general is just the fact of all the, I know some people get lonely, but for me, peace and quiet, solo time. I can think. I can do what I got to do without anybody near me. I don't have a coworker. Blah, 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 blah. I don't have gossip. I don't have arguments with people. Of course, except for when you get to the shippers and receivers sometimes. But just the solo time, plenty of time to reflect, plenty of time to plan things. That's why I was able to, when I finally got out of driving, I had so many plans and thoughts, and I categorized things. I was able to kind of get myself ready for what I was about to do next. But a lot of that thought came from just the quiet time in the truck, being able to organize my thoughts. Plus, I had a lot of practice karaoke time too, where I didn't have to worry about anybody
Right, you are.
listening.
Yes. Trucker Jen is the queen of karaoke, so we'll let her tell you about that in just a second. So you did dry van, you did reefer, you did drive away, car hauling, and tanker.
Yep.
So dry van, I mean, that's pretty basic. So what would you say the pros and cons of pulling reefer is for the women looking at getting into our industry?
Well, generally reefer pays a little bit more for freight. That's one thing. But in the contract I have right now, it's mostly plants and things, and it is physical. We have to load and unload with a what do you call a lift gate, because we do deliveries to stores. We deliver plants for we have a contract with a company, a nationwide nursery that serves Home Depots a lot, mostly. So we do plant deliveries. So yeah, I go to the warehouse even if it's 2 a.m. and nobody's there. I load up my own truck, 41 carts, and then roll out and drop them in 5 or 6 different spots in the middle of the night. Come back to the warehouse. Maybe there's guys there that can roll them on for me or not. But yeah, it's kind of physical, but it's good. But it pays really well. Our contracts, when I recruit, people do not believe the amount of money that our drivers make, because our drivers make basically 4 times the average driver's take home pay, because of what we do and how generous my partner is, because he's still not corrupted.
He's still not correct. And being in Florida, that's huge, because we all know with Florida freight prices, it's really hard to get good freight out of Florida.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so reefer, labor intensive, longer waits, but higher pay generally.
Well, yeah. If you're doing it, we do contracts with, some broker loads with Walmart and stuff like that, which is obviously just opening doors just like anybody else. But it's it's the contracts that we have that pay the best. And that's why, we focus on taking care of our higher paying clients. We just fill it in here and there with the little broker things to meet up, little side,
So if a new female driver was thinking about drive away, what would your advice be to them?
If you're looking to get in a drive away, get used to having everything in just a backpack, including license plates and permits, maybe 4 or 5 pairs of underwear, a couple changes of clothes. But if you can run with just a backpack, you're going to eliminate your need for checking luggage if you have to fly, losing luggage, which happened to me, and I had to wait a whole 12 hours to get those plates. So travel light. Even when I went to Europe with my son, 9 days, we both had a backpack. That's it. We had 1 pair of sneakers, 1 pair of sandals, enough clothes to interchange, and that's it. The lighter you travel, the quicker you're going to get around, make more money. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what about car hauling? What would your advice be to people looking at car hauling?
Don't do it. That would be my advice. No, it's very difficult. But if it's something that you're interested in doing, just make sure you're hooking up with the right brokers and you're getting the right pay. You're not getting undercut. One of the biggest things I could say is make sure your locks are locked, because ramps come down and crush cars, and then it comes out of your paycheck. I know that.
I heard everything comes out of your paycheck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Chips, nicks, everything that can happen. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And tanker. I mean, milk tanker. I mean, tanker's a pretty laborious job. So
yeah. Well, for me, it was pretty easy. It was more drop and hook. I didn't have to fill up the tanks or anything. I just dropped and hooked. I went from Okeechobee to Miami twice in a night. It was an overnight, so the traffic wasn't too bad during the night. But Yeah, so, and the thing that I learned about tanker, which was interesting, is the fact that those milk tankers are not reefer units. They're insulated enough that for the time that you're picking up to dropping off, the temperature literally only goes down about 3 degrees. So,
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
really
interesting.
good.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have all this experience. You did years over the road, and then you're like, no, I'm done with trucking. I don't want to be in the truck anymore. So you have a lot going on in your life right now.
Yep.
Besides, karaoke Jen, you have 4 trucks. You
Yep.
also have another side business. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I just in August opened up my shop over in Fort Pierce. It's a truck and trailer wash, also truck parking, RV parking and storage, and that's what we're focusing on. My boyfriend also moved his shoe shop, so we can fix soles on boots and sneakers and high heels and purses and all those things. Also, I forgot to mention I am not only the recruiter for my CAMS transport partner, but I'm also the creator of the LLCs. So I do business creation. I start LLCs, S corps, all those things for people that are trying to start their own businesses or just need to, become an entity so they can be paid that way. And I also prepare business taxes. I do those for myself, and I do taxes for people. Just general tax prep. So.
You wear a lot of hats on a day-to-day basis.
And the realtor, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. I forgot about that. She has been a licensed active real estate agent since what year?
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
So, trucking has given you the opportunity to really go after your dreams.
Yeah, it really has. I bought the current condo that I own right now because I was able to save enough money for a down payment, which these days everybody knows you can't just buy a house with no money. You have to have something. And I would have never been able to save that kind of money in any other job punching a clock, I tell you right now. Especially
Yeah.
being a single. Yeah.
So I don't want the listeners to think it's all, rainbows and butterflies in trucking, because it's not. And it's a long road to get to where we are, where we're successful. And you have had a lot of challenges along the way.
Oh yeah.
What has been the most challenging for you through the years since you got your CDL?
Um wow, there's a lot of things. It's just a very cutthroat industry, to be honest with you. The female part of it is obviously, a challenge, but I've adapted and I feel like my personality comes through to most people who are intelligent, normal, decent human beings, and they can respect and understand that what I'm doing as a man's job, the equivalent, even in the physical. So I've proven myself over and over again. So I have a lot of respect in the industry, people I know, mechanics I know, and things like that. But just, overall, trucking is not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you,
No,
it is
it's
very,
brutal.
yeah. It's there's days where I can tell you right now, I remember one time in North Carolina, one of my trucks had been broken down for a little bit, and it was left at a shop, and they said, well, we're closed, but we'll let you get in the gate and you can do what you got to do. So it was a rainy night. There was a puddle. My truck was stuck between 2 other trucks in the dark, and I had to jump start it with the flashlight from my phone. So I'm standing in a puddle trying to jump my truck off of another truck that I drove in, and I got it done, and I went and reattached to the trailer, and I deal with all the things I got to deal with. But these are things like where I'm all alone in the dark in a shady place. I don't know the neighborhood. I don't know what's going on. And I just have to deal with it. I have to get through it. It doesn't matter. I have no choice. I have to do it. It's do or die in a lot of cases. You got the people on the road that brake check you. I've almost lost loads and almost rolled my truck. Well, I rolled the truck in 2007. That was avoiding another accident, of course. But yeah, there's I shouldn't even be alive with the things that I've gone through. Honest to God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my family, they hated it. They didn't like me out on the road all these years. They hated it, especially when they were called after a rollover and I'm in Arkansas and my family's in New Hampshire, and now my dad has to fly in to come and save me, and they don't know if I'm dead or alive when the trooper is on the phone telling my sister, "You pull over, I need to tell you about your sister." And everybody's like, yeah, I almost died.
Yeah,
More than once.
it's hard on a family, and not just in trucking, but as a woman, as a mom, as a sister, as a daughter, we face a lot of things behind the scenes in our personal lives that are challenging as well. And you have had more than your fair share of those challenges, and you wanted to share those today. So tell us a little bit about that.
Fights with men, fights with women, road rages, um, dispatchers and brokers, and showing up on time or showing up at a scheduled time only to find out now you have to sit there because they're actually not open till the next day. Damages in freight, whether it's my fault or not, damages to cars and car hauling. The list of negative things that can happen to you in trucking is endless. And the only thing I can say, the money is pretty much the only thing that kept me here the most of the part, because I knew that there was a possibility. It's like the lottery, though. It's like one day you're up, or like a casino, I would say. It was one day you're up, next day you're down. One day you're making $10,000, next thing you owe $6,000, and you're like, what do I do, or whatever. It's like a gamble, but it's one of those I would call like the educated risk kind of factors, where the more you learn, the more you can prepare, the more it's like you can never prepare for everything, obviously, but the more you know what's going to happen or could go wrong, that you could compensate for it as much as possible, the better off you are. You just have to be quick. You have to think. You have to be smart. You have to be very careful of your money, because
You have to have a plan B and an out at all times.
Yeah, like I said, I can make $11,000 this week, and I could have it in my bank account, and I could go on a nice vacation and enjoy myself, or I could hold on to my money because next week I'm going to have a motor blown. It's going to cost me $25,000 to replace. So I could take that $11,000 and put it down on the motor and try to make payments on the rest of it and save myself. This is the kind of scary daily things that happen.
Yeah, when you're an owner, it is definitely. And as a company driver, it's always great to have a backup plan too, so that if something happens when you're on the road, you have a way to get yourself out of it.
Yeah, because I've heard plenty of horror stories where drivers have been abandoned by their companies. I was fired when I had I'd been with the company for, I don't know, a month or so, and I had a muscle spasm in my back. So they had 911. They took me out of the truck, hospital, came back. I had to go home. They took the truck. Everything was fine. About a week later, my muscles calmed down. I was fine. I was ready to go back. I called and they said, "No, ma'am, sorry. Within 90 days, if there's any incidents, we don't take, we terminate you." I was like, "Well, it would have been nice for you to call me and tell me that." So now I'm ready to get the roll, and I need to find another job. Same with the time I had the rollover. I avoided other people's accidents, but because of my trying to not kill other people, I ended up rolling the truck to avoid that. And I was in the neck brace. I'm sitting in the hospital, and I call the company and we talk and stuff. And then I went home, and because they're, just take care of yourself. We hope you recover. Everything's fine. So 3 weeks later, when I'm actually able to walk again, because I had a broken vertebrae in my back, and I was like, okay, I can do this now. I'm okay. And I had 2 broken arms. I couldn't, so I call them. I'm finally healed enough that I can function, and I need to get money again. And they said, "Sorry, we terminated you. You had and I just got a 1-year safety award with that company too. Isn't that silly? So wow. I had no job again, and I went like 4 months, without work, and I had to have people help me pay my bills and stuff until I was able to get back to work again. So difficult.
That is rough. Always have a backup plan. So being a mom.
I'm sorry. Nobody is on your side. Let's just make that clear.
No, you have to take care of yourself. Yeah. So you're a mom.
Yep.
How did you balance being on the road and being a mom?
Okay, well, when I first started trucking, I had no child. And then in 2011, I had my son. And it was a period of time where I was on and off the road anyways. So I took that first portion of 6 months of his life, I believe, is when I was pretty much home all the time until his father got deported. And then I ended up basically having to go back on the road again. So I left my infant son with my parents. I ended up, I was trying to figure out a way to get my husband at the time back into the country or somewhere other than Mexico. So I ended up getting hired on with a company out of Vancouver, Canada. So I flew up there and I worked for them for about 3 months. But I was doing loads back and forth Arizona to Canada, hauling reefer and stuff. And it would have been okay, except for the fact that I had a less than 1-year-old baby at home in Florida, which is literally diagonal across the world, you know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had a mental breakdown, and I had to quit. I had to come home. I had to do, So I've been on and off, on and off. I'd come home and, do home, but then money wasn't good enough, so I had to go on the road again because, living with your parents is not fun as it is when you're an adult, but being broke sucks worse. So
Yeah. Money's a necessary evil, and that is the lure of trucking, is the financial independence that it gives you.
You got to make hard decisions in life if you want to succeed. I could have accepted welfare, or I could have punched a clock at Walmart and stayed living with my parents for all eternity. You know what I mean? But
Right.
that wasn't what I wanted, and I wanted better for my son. I want him to grow up and know that you can do whatever you want if you want it. You just have to want it, and you have to reach out and get it. Mm-hmm.
So looking back at all the sacrifices that you made, was it worth it where you're at now?
Yeah. It sucked, but it was worth it.
Yeah. So now you're sitting on your, multiple companies of your own. You're dabbling in real estate. What's your plans? I mean, are we going to be expanding? Are you happy and content where you're at? Do you have some ongoing dreams and goals?
Oh yeah. So me and my trucking partners, we've discussed different things about what we want to do, and with my fleet, I got to the point where I was so frustrated with everything. I decided, I don't want to do trucking at all anymore, and that's why I got the shop, because I decided, okay, I'm gonna separate myself from the driving side and try to get into the service side, which seems like where all the money's going. So maybe I could tap into that side.
Right.
Yeah. And I hired my own private mechanic, so that's cutting down already on labor and parts and things. So I'm going to be servicing my own trucks with that. But I've thought about getting my own authority, but with the situation I'm in now, with the contracts we have, it's just too good to try to venture out right now. So I'm going to stay where I am. I thought about at the end of this busy season possibly selling out if I have enough money to just focus on my shop. But then again, depending on the new administration and all the other things going on in our country, if things go better, then I may just renew my fleet, sell off some of the old ones, and maybe buy one or two newer units and just kind of see where it goes. But it's all going to depend on the industry and where it's going, because you and I both know that for at least the past, since COVID, it's been worse than ever. Freight and fuel. Yeah.
Yeah. The not just freight and fuel, but the cost of the parts for our trucks, the cost of the repairs, the time it takes to get the parts. I mean, so our trucks are out of commission for so much longer and costing so much more to fix. And that is a huge problem in the industry right now.
I'll give you a really recent example. This is terrible. I have, the one truck is down for 4 months because of the insurance thing I had talked to you about before, but that's 4 months loss of income, driver out of a job, and all those things. And I still have to pay insurance and all the other things involved while that truck's sitting there. But this is another one I have. I had to get a new turbo on my Peterbilt. I have had a mechanic tell me that the turbo alone is going to cost $10,000 just for the part.
Yeah. Yep. I put a turbo in Nebraska. Yes. My truck
but listen to this though. That part a few years ago cost $1,200, and then the labor to put it in, it probably would have cost you about $3,000, right? So the part alone now, this one guy is telling me $10,000. So I hired my prior mechanic, and he starts looking around. He found one for $6,300 brand new. I said, okay, well, that's progress. Well,
Right.
then we did a little bit more digging, and I'm getting that supposed $10,000 part delivered on Monday to be installed in my truck for less than $800. That's a $9,000 markup.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane.
This is why I'm broke.
Yeah.
But not for long.
I'm gonna tell you what. When I owned my trucks, it was a rude awakening when I had to do a fuel pump. And as a woman, I've seen fuel pumps go in cars and they're a couple $100, right?
Yeah.
Well, mine with rails was like $7,000, and I'm like, holy moly! It's crazy expensive in the owner op world. So that is something definitely that people need to know, and women when they come out here is what they're looking at cost wise.
Well, my drivers, we do a 50-50 split after the company takes their percentage, and then the fuel comes out, and whatever's left, it's 50-50. So if my driver makes $4,000 this week, which anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 is what our drivers take on a weekly basis during our busy season. So let's just say the best week he had, he took $4,000. That means that I got $4,000. Well, he gets to go home with his $4,000 and take his wife to dinner, pay his mortgage, buy his kids clothes, and all those things. I take my $5,000 and I put it down on parts. And if I'm lucky to have a couple bucks left at the end of the day, I'm ahead of the game.
Yeah, truck payments if you got truck payments,
Yep.
maintenance, and all that extra stuff that you have as an owner. There's a lot of behind the scene expenses. You got IFTA, you got all the back things that you have to pay to the company you're leased under. So.
One of my drivers parked in a tow zone, calls me up. I went to go do laundry and I came back, the truck's gone. Well, come to find out, yeah, they towed it away. And guess how much the tow bill was? $6,000. And I said, is this even legal? It was legal. The cops said, oh, well.
Yeah, there is no cap on how much a tow company can charge. And I've seen some crazy tow amounts for a very short distance. And is that coming out of that driver's pocket, or is that a cost that you have to eat?
We started taking it out of him for a little while, but he was just not a good driver to begin with, so we ended up having to bite the bullet and let him go because it was cheaper to pay it off ourselves and not deal with the driver anymore, to be honest with you. And then, the other problem, another major situation, like we talked about with parts and stuff, is if there's a breakdown on the road, you got to pay a service call, and now you got this guy who knows he's got you on the hook because you're not home. He's going to charge you whatever he wants. I had a driver. I ended up paying over $900 for one tire for a road call, one tire. Everywhere I've gone, I've had breakdowns on the road. If I was able to tow my truck home for $3,000, it was cheaper than keeping it where it was and dealing with that mechanic. I've had mechanics do work. I paid somebody $23,000 to rebuild a motor. It blew 2 days later, and he said, oh, well, too bad. $23,000? Now I just struggled to get that money to pay the guy, and now I have no truck, and I owe $23,000 for a loan. Like, now what do I do? Like, it's amazing. I don't know about the suicide rates in trucking.
But on the flip side, would you rather be doing anything else?
Yeah, of course I would rather be doing something else.
So, see, not me. I'm like, it's horrible and it's this, but I love it.
The thrill of trucking went out the door probably at least after the first 2 or 3 years. I'd been there, I'd done that, I've seen it. I've been to every corner of the country. I've been to Canada. And then, of course, in my private travels, I've been everywhere else in the world. But it's like the service side is where the money is these days. The trucking side it's like slavery in a lot of senses, because there's drivers. I've had friends who have driven like flatbed, for instance. That's a very labor intensive job, throwing tarps and strapping and all the crazy stuff. And I remember the guy telling me sometimes, he's like, man, I only make $400 this week, and this week I didn't make anything. Like, man, you can punch a clock at McDonald's and make $400 a week, right? So what do you
Right?
do? Yeah, I've got guys calling me all the time for advice. Jen, what kind of motor should I put in my truck? My engine just blew. Jen, what do you think about this? Or what's your advice on that? Men,
Yeah,
all
I
the
get
time.
it too. Yep. I just had one here a couple weeks ago. Oh, I'm looking at a lease operator. What do you think of this company and this company? And I'm like, have you done your research? Because both of those are really bad, high complaint lease programs,
Yeah,
And yeah, I
it's
see it. I see it. So it's crazy.
yeah.
So what would you rather do? I mean, what's your dream career job then? What would you do other than
I
transportation?
think being a lounge singer somewhere where maybe it's an older crowd and there's no drama and I can just sing and make silly little slapstick jokes to the
And this
crowd and
this is karaoke Jen
a
entering the
little,
room,
a
folks.
little stand up, comedy because I have plenty of hilarious stories that people wouldn't believe that are absolutely true. I
Yeah.
mean, mm, I kind
So
of like that.
give us one.
What is it?
I'm
A
gonna put you on
story?
the spot here. Yeah, give us a story. Give us an unbelievable story.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Let me see.
Nothing like
Oh,
being put on the spot.
here's a silly one. This one's kind of it's trucking related, but it's kind of so. One time I was doing driveway with a boyfriend, and we would stay in motels because it's a day cab. You don't want to just sleep sitting up sometimes. So we get a motel, and so it's like midnight. We're in like New Mexico. We see a sign. It says 19.99 a night. I'm like, holy crap, that's cheap, but we're only gonna be there for like 5 hours, so let's just go. So we pull in, we check in, and we go into the room, open the door, and it's straight 60s, pristine, because it's clean, but never been updated. So I'm like, all right, walk in, and I go to the sink because I'm gonna like wash my hands, and there's a scorpion in the sink, and I said, ah, I freak out, of course. Like, yell and scream. My boyfriend, oh my god, you gotta get there's a scorpion. I don't know what's on the sheets in here, but so we go to the office and it's like now it's like after 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, ma'am, can you call maintenance? So she woke up whoever the guy was, and we're standing across the the courtyard. I could see the door to the room from the office, and I see the maintenance man go in. I see him come out, and then I see him stomp, 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 and I'm like, oh well, I guess that's their version of pest control here for 19.99 a night. So I was like, oh my, yeah. I've been in.
Did you
Oh, the funny
did you
one of the
sleep there?
funny.
No, wait, did you sleep there with a
I shook the
scorpion?
sheets out. I shook the sheets out really, really good. Yeah, but I ended up sleeping there. There's this funny thing I drove by and I just saw it again recently. Somebody finally posted it. For 20 years, I was looking for this. I was driving down I-10 in Texas, middle of nowhere, and there's some rinky-dink truck stop. And on the side of the building, it's words, big words to attract you from the highway. And on the side it says diesel, and right next to it, fried chicken. I'm like, diesel fried chicken? Dang, that sounds good. And I wanted to take a picture, but I could never find it. And recently somebody posted it, and I said, that's the one, that's the one. I remember that one. Diesel fried chicken.
That's
Woo!
funny. That is great.
Yep.
So how many nights a week do you do karaoke?
Wait, say that again?
How many nights a week do you do karaoke?
Well, when I was trucking, it was random. I might come home every couple weeks and go once or twice when I was home. But these days, my boyfriend, he's a pool shark, so we're always out doing pool. And he plays in tournaments and things, and so we go out 2, 3 nights a week usually. And so yeah, I sing locally here in Florida. I've been a couple little places around the country, not anything big, but people still message me from the places that I've gone to. But yeah, I do. I sing. I do mostly like Adele or Lady Gaga. I do a little bit of Mariah Carey. I like to do ballads. I like Jewel and Melissa Etheridge. I like to sing her suit. I do rock. I do pop. I do a lot of variety of everything. But my lately Gaga and Adele are my two main go tos for songs because they have a lot of really good stuff. And I have people request me to sing. I have people that show up because they know I'm going to be at a place. Like KJ's, they always introduce me. They know, oh, Trucker Jen's in the house, it's always a big deal. So it's kind of fun. It's like a little local celebrity. I go, whatever bar I go to, obviously they're, I'm regular. So, all the bartenders know me. I walk in 20 or 30 people, immediately got to hug them all. And, they're like, sing this, do that. Oh, when you singing, I have guys that request doing duets with me. So I'll sing like old school R&B with somebody, or I'll sing like Shallow. That's one of my go-tos with Gaga.
I love that song.
Bradley Cooper, yeah. I have a couple of guys that love singing that song with me. So, I get around musically. I like it. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do is to sing.
Awesome. Well, I'm not going to keep you because I know you have a ton to do and a driver in distress right now. But to wrap things up, the topic of my series right now is hashtag I saved my son. So when you look at those words and you think of trucking, how does that apply to your situation? And how do you
Well, like I said before, no one is on your side in trucking. Nobody, not even your co-driver. They'll throw you under the bus. So you have to save yourself. You have to be prepared to swim when you got lead boots and nobody's gonna help you. You have to figure it out, and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, it's do or die, and even if your mama was there, she would probably bail on you too. Just that's how difficult
it's rough. It's definitely a tough industry. There's nobody there, when things go down, and 99% of the time when something happens, you are alone,
Yep.
So. Well, Jen, I appreciate you so much for your patience this morning. And while we were getting
Multitasking.
ready, right? It was definitely multitasking morning. I'll let you get to your driver. Thank you so much for joining Trucking with Tamie today, and you have a great day. Bye,
Hey, wait,
everybody.
one more thing.
Yes.
I was a podcast virgin. I am no longer. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. I'm so grateful that you came on. It was wonderful hearing your story and chit chatting with you this morning.
You too, girl.
You have.
Thank you.